Hi, my name is Madeline Darbinet. I'm a journalism student at Michigan State University, and I'm so excited to have the opportunity to meet with Michael Blakely, CEO of InterOperate today, and hear a little bit more about his journey to starting his company and why he's passionate about what he does. How are you today, Michael?
Doing awesome. I, you've got me a little nervous. I don't do interviews very often, so to make me feel better, I got a cool new microphone.
Nice.
That'll help.
All right. I want to start with asking about a famous quote by Simon Sinek that says, start with why. So I want to hear a little bit more about your why and how you found your passion in what you do.
Great question. Very, very good. Passion is a topic very near and dear to my heart. I'm the type of person where if I'm doing it all day, every day, I have to be passionate. It's like dragging me through the mud. If I'm not passionate about it, I cannot continue to do it all day, every day. So great question. I always kind of think back when I was a kid because where I'm at right now, I never would have thought. Like as a kid, I was always super fascinated with technology, particularly because I grew up in the 80s and 90s, like when technology was just starting to emerge. Nintendo, Duck Hunt, Walkman, Vanilla Ice, MC Hammer, then cable television, MTV. Uh, I'm gonna guess you don't have an idea what I'm talking about, Madeline.
A little bit, but it's definitely not from my generation. But
I'll do an interview with you about 80s and 90s.
ooh, okay.
But I think it was just an interesting time to grow up because of course, computers like the Apple IIe, followed by like the World Wide Web, were just coming out. So of course, when I was younger, I loved these new gadgets and toys. I loved taking them apart to see how they worked. Most of the time, couldn't get it back together with the same functionality, maybe some extra parts at the end, but eventually became pretty good at it despite several trial and errors and being grounded for attempting to increase the power of the vacuum with utter failure. I will mention that, but that was just, I think that was just due to the times and being a kid. I don't think I would look back and say that I was passionate about technology as a kid because I never once said like I want to grow up and start a technology company or anything.
I know that now you refer to yourself as a tech nerd. Obviously, you haven't always been that way, except for, taking apart vacuums when you were growing up. But what do you think helped you get to where you are today?
So funny enough, traveling has always been my real passion, but most importantly, efficient travel. Efficiency is key. I'll come back to that. But what got me up in the morning and what I thought about going to bed was always traveling. And funny enough, it wasn't until I moved to China for master's program in international business back when I was in college, at ironically the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. So of course, did I actually start to learn what I would consider high tech. Several times I run into an issue like connecting my phone or laptop to be able to communicate with friends and family back home, or get on social media that China blocks. And the other students in the dorm would actually show me how, and I was amazed by what they could do and were now teaching me. So another interesting point about passion and kind of tying it together. Right before I moved and arrived in China, I was traveling around Southeast Asia, and I was on a small island in Thailand called Phuket, where I met this American guy, just having beers, who was living there and living like a king. So he told me how, because he worked in technology, he could work remote. And my mind exploded, like blew my mind, because it's like impossible to do that in any other industry that I have ever heard of. It just wasn't a concept back then. But because he worked in technology, he could work from wherever he wanted in the world and make a good average US salary, but live in Thailand on this island that I could only describe as like a pristine tropical screensavers. It's the only way that I can describe it. It was just phenomenal. And he spent his work days working on the beach from a laptop when he wasn't scuba diving, with Nemo. Um, Now, the big part here is the cost of living was 1/30th of what it is here. So he was literally living like a rich king off just an average US salary. But there, he had yacht money. So fast forwarding, I graduate, move back to the US with one goal in mind, get a job in tech. Just because that reason, honestly. Wasn't even my technology wasn't even part of my degree. It was marketing, international business. But if I wanted to pursue that passion of traveling at a higher scale, I needed to get into tech and I needed to work remote. And of course, it only made sense to go to the technology mecca of the world, San Francisco. And then I did. Got my first job at a digital marketing agency. So tried to tie some of my degree in marketing, but digital technology. So, you would think this is where confetti falls from the sky, uh, but it didn't. I spent all day, every day working 14 plus hours, mostly because we're a technology company and we had all the best software, which meant that I had to rely on 10 softwares, usually a day, constantly switch between them. Um, and in order to excel in my role, you had to utilize them. Like it wasn't one, it was the job, right? So I'd get in trouble if I didn't do it. But if I was going to ever be good at what I was doing, I needed them. So they're very specialized in one area or another. But after, I would say, several years working like this, extremely inefficient, I looked back and realized that I wasn't even doing the work I specialized in 80% of the time. I spent most of these gruesome, hardworking days switching back and forth between all these software platforms. So they didn't talk to each other. Copy paste, copy paste. And if I made a mistake, go back through all the platforms and redo it. And that was hours a day. And it was super inefficient. So my next mission, because efficiency is like just a part of my brain, I absolutely have to have it. So my next mission was to find one platform that could do everything. I thought that was the answer. And I quickly found out that there is no such thing, right? Because as soon as a company tries to be a one size fits all, they lose the edge in their specialty. So there's a few of them out there. They were terrible, to be honest, right? Because they didn't do one thing good. They did a lot of things okay. So at that point was when, I think a quote that comes to mind is tech for the sake of tech ethos is a bad kind of road to go down and a bad ideology. The only kind of interest that should be, at least to me at that point, is what sort of tools or new capabilities can tech provide. Like a necessary approach is in not what can they do, but how can they help me? And that's when it really kind of started to sink in on like where the opportunities were to just like in the industry, there was nothing to fix this and everybody had it. And so the next mission was to solve this problem. It was going to like change, my life so I could get back to, my passion, traveling and work remote, which I still was not able to do at that time, and that's when I pivoted to working from these big, huge corporations to a startup. And I was always too afraid to do that. But this startup was basically an efficiency company at the heart who happened to do technology. And it just clicked. And during that, I was introduced to integrations. And it was somewhat of a new concept, but it was extremely expensive. It took a long time to build. It was an efficiency method that was inefficient, if that makes any sense. But after kind of pivoting my career to integrate systems, I the light bulb went off and found more efficient ways to do it through iPass, and there was no turning back. Like I had spent all these years trying to, fix this problem. First, I didn't even know it was a problem, to then finding there was no solution out in the market, to now piecing one together, and there was no turning back. That's why I absolutely love integrations and just live and breathe it all day, because I still need now, even more so, 20, 25 different types of software every day. But now that I've got them connected, just personally, I can actually do 80 times more of the work in a fraction of the time, and be, the best at what I do in my day to day. And I love being able to do it for myself so that I can work better. But being able to do that for others is exciting, right? Because I'll get on calls with companies that they'll have the same woes. They're like, can integration help me spend less time, switching back and forth between all of these different platforms, because it's taken up all my day and I don't even have time to do my work that I was hired to do. Like, I'm like, yes, I know that problem. I know it. That was me. This is how we solve it. Let's do it. And then confetti falls from the sky. So, it's ever evolving. We're finding better and better ways to do it every day, and it's just exciting. So, that's why I'm passionate about what I do in a nutshell.
Great. It's been so awesome to see how you were able to take the things that you were passionate about when you were little and pretty much turn them full circle and bring them back to your permanent lifetime career.
Yes, yes. But I'm still breaking vacuums. It's just vacuums now are more expensive and they're in the form of a laptop, but still happens. Awesome. Well, thanks for listening to me babble on about technology and passion and well, tech nerding out on integrations.
It's great to hear about how you ended up where you are and just more about your journey. So I'm so glad I had the opportunity to meet with you today and speak to you about this. And I look forward to talking to you really soon.
Absolutely. And hopefully you need a job after college.
I definitely will.